What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Cause True Talks. Alright, let's get straight right into it. So you already know the other day was game 2 between the Mavericks and the Clippers. The Mavericks technically are on the road, but no one's on the road. They're the 7th seed. Clippers are the number 2 seed. And you already know, man, this is what elite looks like. When you have Luka doing those type of things, you get what I'm saying? And you have the Mavs that have no fear. Now you have a bubble, no fear. Like the Lakers and the Clippers, those teams are in a real threat. When you have Portland and you have Dallas, teams that aren't technically looking like the 7th or 8th seed, they're actually like solid teams. Especially because the West is different. The West is different. Every series is like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. It's not no Magic. It's not no the Brooklyn Nets. It's none of that. This is real. This is real. So you can't come to play. You know what I'm saying? Bruh. I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna have to educate. I'm gonna have to show mans what's going on, man, cause this is getting out of hand. Anyways, let's go into that context, cause I give you that context. Let's go straight right into it, boy. Forget that shit, man. We're not going straight right into nothing. We're going straight right into, I'm about to enlighten y'all with my words. You know what I'm saying? We don't need none of that footage, man. Enough of that. Enough is enough. This is what's going on, man. So look, the defense principles, the defense ability, like the Clippers already have that. We know that we have Pat Bev. We know that we have Kawhi. We know that we have Paul George. We know that we have these guys that are elite wing defenders. But what's happening is that the attention to detail, you could already tell, is more focused on the offensive side of things than the defensive side of things. They're just looking like, okay, you know what? We'll just naturally lock things up, but let's focus on our offensive rhythm. Let's focus on integrating this, X, Y, and Z in this because we don't have the chemistry and the gel together. Now, when I said the Clippers were supposed to win in 5, when I said that was me assuming that the hierarchy on offense is going to be established. We already know who's got the hierarchy. That's why there should be a hierarchy. You get what I'm saying? And we already know that. We've seen what Kawhi has done with the Raptors. We've seen how the hierarchy was established with the Raptors. Lowry wasn't even really playing point guard. We ran it through Kawhi. So when you double him, everybody else gets it. There was a hierarchy established. We've seen at the beginning of the year when the Raptors would lose certain close games and certain games they're supposed to win was because Lowry thought he was that. We've seen it. Remember, he was chucking and doing all kinds of nonsense, and Kawhi didn't say nothing. Maybe he slapped them behind the scenes because he said nothing got out. Maybe they had a real issue behind the scenes because Lowry was mad when they traded DeRozan. He's like, nah, for Kawhi? No, and he was trying to hold and defend for his boy. Until he got slapped back to reality was when the hierarchy got established. When you saw Lowry would have the ball once it's clutch, he'll wait at half court and just hand it over to Kawhi, and Kawhi will run the offense. We seen that. Y'all know we seen that. And that's what's happening with the Clippers. And that's been my issue when it comes to the Clippers. And I said from time the perfect balance they had, especially when they had Mo Harkless. Remember when they had Mo Harkless and they had these elite one type of, we focus on defense guys because you have guys who are unlimited with arsenal. You could play with guys who are more role player based, like a Mo Harkless. This guy's just gonna defend. He knows once I rebound, here you go. Once I get it and it's not there, here you go. Let me go back to the corner, all that type of stuff. But I'm gonna try so hard on defense because this is my staple. This is what I worry about. Now, when you have too many dogs on the court, the focus becomes offensive focus. That they're just playing defense just through the motions. They're not actually trying to lock up. That's why you see when Kawhi now was trying at the end, he tried to go guard Luka. He was picking up full half court. He was trying to, cookie him and playing elite defense and change it. What happens? The ball goes in Kawhi's hands. He's making plays. He's going to work. And that's when they're now scoring. Always good things happens when you run it through Kawhi. Now before I talk about who we need to run it through and what's going on, let me just show you what I mean by too many dogs. People say that there's too many dogs on the team. That's not the case. You can have a lot of dogs. I'd rather have 15 dogs on my team. That's not the issue. The issue is too many offensive-minded dogs. The types of dogs that you have on your team is actually the issue. You get what I'm saying? And that's the problem. When you have too many offensive dogs, what happens is a lot of them are worrying about getting theirs. Anytime they have a moment to get theirs, they catch it. They're not going to do one swing, one pump fake, one dribble pull. I'm going to do that type of stuff. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to focus on offense more. I'm going to play defense, but you know what I mean? It's just my instincts to play defense, but I'm not like, my job is to shut this guy down. My job is to do this on defense, and then on offense, we already know it goes through Kawhi. And if I get it, I get it. I'm gonna just make the right read when I get it. That's not how they move. Lou Will don't move like that. Trez even somewhat doesn't move like that. Morris, we definitely know doesn't move like that. You know what I'm saying? He does all, but he has been playing good and he's been playing defense. But it's not just about how you're playing good. It's not about the stats that's making you play good. It's about how you're moving with those stats. How are your stats coming? The man's taking 11 shots. I'm not mad at him taking those shots, but how he's taking those shots, bare them sometimes are ISOs. And sometimes I don't even blame him because you could see the rhythm of PG and Kawhi. Sometimes like, okay, you know what? Let me just give it to him. They could see they're not force feeding, being aggressive because they're like, yo, we come into this team. Obviously, Doc, we have so many different guys. It's like, you could just see it's like they're just going through the motions offensively instead of like, you know what? I'm going to take over. I'm that guy. They're not doing that. Why is Reggie Jackson having bare shots? What is he coming up? Cause he wasn't even playing when he was with Detroit that much. Why are you coming into this and you're letting him do this? And I'm not blaming the actual players because again, when you're a dog and you're given that moment and that opportunity, you're supposed to try and take over in your own right when you feel like you're that guy. You're a dog. But what happens is you have to slap them back to reality. This is the difference that I say. It's not just about the talent on the court that makes Kobe and MJ who they are. It's not just the talent. It's about the mentality and the things that you do behind the scenes. The type of breed that you are. Like Kobe has told the Will before. If y'all don't give me the damn ball, you're not wearing my Kobe's. Take off my shoes. Who do you think I am? You taking a shot when I'm here? Which is why you see, once they get a rebound, how they panic and they just, where's Kobe? Where's Kobe? Because they already, I will slap you in the locker room. Give me the rock. Are you out your mind? Kawhi has just won finals MVP. And this is my issue with Kawhi. You get what I'm saying? I'll talk about Paul George after, but this is my issue with Kawhi. The offense can run through Kawhi because there's a battle of who should have run through PG, should have run through Kawhi. Now, actually, before we get into Kawhi, let's go to PG. PG has actually he has a bad narrative that's against him, okay? There's a narrative that, okay, you know what? PG's a choker and all this type of stuff, X, Y, and Z. And it's hard to defend that because in moments it looks like he's that. But you have to go through deep level context and deep level IQ of thinking. If you really was a choker, then that means in no moment he was elite. You know what I'm saying? Consistent moments, not just one, odd moment. In the moments where it was established that this is PG, this is you, you've seen what he did when he was basically 3 All-Stars versus 1, when it was, the Miami Heat with the big 3 versus the Pacers in the conference finals, those 2 years. And he pushed them 6 and 7 games. And it was Kawhi even in those times where they were losing in the clutch and he was snapping, pulling from Egypt and, on the Heat's floor and he was cooking in the clutch. So it's not that he's not clutch because that's a big moment and he's even younger. So he should be even more scared. He should warm up to being good. And he was still pulling and he was pulling and he was making it come through. You know what I'm saying? Even though they lost, obviously, because they're outnumbered with All-Stars. But regardless, it was a battle because of that guy. You know what I'm saying? Now we look at it in the other years when he came back from the injury. And even when he was like he was the 7th seed and he was the lone carrier, the lone star. He was the focal point of the offense. What did he do with the Raptors? He pushed them 7 games and he was snapping. And he was even mad at Paul George that you got to pass to me. He called him out. So he has that ability to, what are you doing? Give me the rock. I passed you because I was double, but you're supposed to pass it back. CJ Miles, what are you doing? Pull it. You're not that guy. Give it to me. You're a catch and shoot guy. You know what I'm saying? So he has that ability to tell man and, what are you doing? And then the other year after that, what does he do? He pushes LeBron again. 7 games. You know what I'm saying? Or it wasn't 7 games. I don't know how many games it was, but he was going to work. He was going to work basically. You know what I'm saying? And like closer to the end of the season, how he was snapping. So when you look at it from that perspective, PG clearly has the capability when it's time to do it. But what the last 2 years now, he's been looking fugazi. Why? Because he enters into a situation where Westbrook is the alpha male. I'm just coming to your team. I have to play the whole, walk on eggshells. I can't do too much. I can't take over. Or now our dynamic as a bro and our dynamic as a duo might be affected because now it's going to come. When you tap into that echelon where it's like, nigga, give me the rock. And you come with that energy, it's hard to go back to that other energy because now it's me versus you. And you don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Especially this late. So he's trying to, this is what Westbrook's team, he didn't leave. I could, let me try and be the KD. Let me try and work on, when I get it, all that type of stuff. That's what he's trying to do. But the difference between KD and a lot of these guys is KD doesn't have to even tell you, give me the rock. KD's so elite that even when you give him 5 shots, he will score off those 5 shots. His efficiency is so high that whatever situation you put him through, he's that elite. You don't even need to say nothing. But these guys are rhythm players. They're not like KD who could only get 6 shots and be 6 for 6 and still have almost 25 points. And KD's a different guy. That's why he doesn't need, I used to get mad at him as Demand the Rock, but he's a different guy. We've seen when he went to Golden State. He's a different guy that he's so elite with that limitation that now they're like, you know what? We can't limit this guy no more. It just settles. He doesn't have to say nothing. So that's a different echelon. He's the opposite of MJ, but still like them. You get what I'm saying? Now his aura just demands him, yo, give him the rock. That's the difference. These other guys, they struggle when they don't have rhythm. You can't do what KD does. So now you have to establish, give me the rock. I'm ready. It's more proper. I'm gonna stir him like hot spaghetti. You get what I'm saying? That's what you're supposed to do. So when you look at it from PG, comes to Westbrook, and Westbrook is there. Obviously, we know Westbrook is the alpha male. You already know how you'll slap a nigga. So obviously, we know that, okay, you know what? Paul George is walking on eggshells. When I get it, I get it. And even when he's in rhythm, he's 9 for 10 or 7 for 10 or whatever the case is. We've seen versus Portland. He's 7 for 10 or whatever. Westbrook is alpha. I'm dominated. And you know, Westbrook's the gift and the curse. Has that dog and he's an alpha dog and he's gonna run. He's gonna keep running and trying to force it. And sometimes he'll create a turnover. Sometimes a bad take. Paul George is just sitting there with high efficiency, not getting the rock. And then they lose. And it's Dame versus Russ. And then you know what Dame did. And you see what happened. So then it looks like, oh, PG's not good. Sorry. And that was the second year. The first year before that was when Melo and PG was there and Westbrook was doing the same thing. He took 40 shots in one game and Melo and Paul George combined versus Utah had less than what this man had. And like I told you, I don't blame Westbrook. If no one's challenging me, it's me. I'm not blaming the guys individually. I'm putting onus and blame on the actual superstar, the guy who I'm talking about, the Paul George, the Kawhi. I'm talking about these guys. They're used to being in situations like Paul George. When he was younger, they established that this guy's too elite. We go through him because why? David West is already older. Lance Stevenson is not really that. And he was younger than Paul George. You know what I mean? These guys aren't talented like that. So off the talent, I don't need to say nothing. The coach and everybody knows we go through you. And that applies to Kawhi. Kawhi's been with Popovich. He had to go through that. Oh, I have to make my name for myself, whereas Tim Duncan and all this type of stuff. He's used to having legends he's playing with. So he doesn't really say nothing until Popovich said, you know what? We're switching the offense. Kawhi's that guy. Let's run through him. What's the narrative for both of them? They're both in situations where they don't have to be the alpha to demand that I am that guy. They don't have to demand the situation. The situation just gets given to them based off the talent or based off the coach recognizing the talent and recognizing the situation. They don't have to say nothing. So they can just go through and playing through the motions and then the flip it switch and then it's I'm that guy. Just give me the rock. They don't have to say nothing. That's applicable to, like I said, Paul George when it comes in Indiana and applicable to Kawhi when he's with Popovich and also when Kawhi goes to Toronto and they already know we had DeRozan and we have Kawhi. Oh my goodness. Nah. It's situations where it's kind of we don't have to say nothing. You just give me the rock. It is what it is. But when you're now playing with dogs, it's a complete different situation. Doesn't matter if you've won 10 rings. These are dogs. They feel that I'm that. These are dogs offensively. They don't care who you are. You think Marcus Morris cares that it's Kawhi? You think Lou Will cares that it's Kawhi? These are guys, you see it on the court. That's what you're watching with your own eyes on the court. This is the same situation that Boston was coming with. Where they didn't care. You think Rozier cared that? They didn't care that it's Kyrie and this and that. They didn't care. They cared before. But once they won without Kyrie or went to game 7 when Kyrie was injured, they're saying, yo, we're that guy. We don't need you. And the media's boosting. Yo, what? Brad Stevens, Hayward, what? And that's where the dynamics now shift. And that's when you see man's going ISO. Their defense even looks weaker because they're not meshing together on the same page that now it's the same thing. Like you've seen, for perfect examples like Andrew Bynum. When Andrew Bynum wasn't getting the rock, if he's not getting the rock and consistently getting it, he doesn't play good defense. It affects his defense. Same thing goes with Shaq. These type of offensive minded players first, which is why a lot of people say, you know what? You have a 1-2 offensive minded stars like the 1-2 punch, and everybody else is one dimensional more so. So then you always go through those guys and they're the ones who carry and everyone knows their role or their hierarchy. Or you have humbled offensive dogs that know, you know what? My career has been sus. I'm not going to do that, which is what Melo's doing in Portland. He's been humbled. Sometimes he goes in the post and he wants it. And he's like, okay, Dame's doing this thing. Let me go to the corner. He's been humbled by coming out the league. So he knows, you know what? I'm going to let you do you and you're that guy. I'm not that guy no more. But I can be that guy when it's time. I'm a spot up though. But you see me. That's the difference. These other guys don't have that. The luxury from that is gone. So you have to change and adapt KYP, know your personnel, adapt to what's going on. Read and react. That's the biggest skill in not just basketball, in life. You have to read and react. Both of you are coming into a locker room. Now it's basically the team versus both of you. This is the dynamics I'm showing you. You have to look at the IQ in deep level context. People are going to blame Doc. And honestly, Doc can control it and do that. But I never really put onus on the coach for all of these things. The coach is the motivator. The coach does the rotational and they have a 1-2 plays. But at the end of the day, it's a players league. The players get more reward and everything more so than the coaches. Unless you have a role player based team, which is like the Popoviches and those guys and they're overachieving. That's when I'm like, okay, that coach has instilled something in them. But when it comes to the higher tier guys with, elite teams or whatever, I don't talk about the coaches that much because we already know I don't put too much blame in them. Only time I put blame in them is when it's like, let's say the rotation or you took this guy out or whatever, like those crucial things. But actual, like when the lineup is there and people want to always point fingers at the coach, I don't do that shit because we know that it's the players and the players know too. That's why players don't even blame the coach OD unless they have an offensive system and a fugazi situation around them coach wise. Then that's when you blame the coach, but not playing this guy versus this guy. But I'm not going to blame Doc Rivers for those type of things because at the end of the day, Kawhi, you're that guy. You just won finals MVP. You're in a rare situation to win a third finals MVP with the next team. You're that guy. PG knows the hierarchy low key. Which is why he says, I'm excited to play with Kawhi. That guy's different. When he started turning it on, I went to the corner. The game changed in game 1. And then yes, Kawhi still gave it to PG to close at that one point when he hit that escape dribble at the 3. That dynamic is perfect. When we know it's Kawhi first, PG second, but even with being first and second, they can still take the same amount of number of shots. Because Kawhi's not, like I said, he has to add the reverse pivot to this game, but you see when Kawhi jumps to a spot, pump fake, reverse, he doesn't reverse pivot and shot. He did it the one time. Obviously, I know y'all were happy that he did it because I've been saying it, but most of the times Kawhi gets a forced pickup and he's going to pass back to PG. Like he's going to give PG opportunities. And that's not the issue. The issue is the other guys taking away. Like I'm watching Kawhi on the bench and I'm watching PG play staggered minutes playing with the bench and it's going through Lou Will. That can't I don't care what y'all if Lou Will and Montrez has done with the Clippers off the bench and all that bullshit and all that shit. No one was there. We're here now. What are we talking about? And that's never going to change until these two guys come in collectively. They can have a conversation with themselves and Kawhi tells them, yo, it's me. I just won finals MVP. It's me. Paul George would be like, you know what? You won finals MVP. I know it's you. And we can alternate. We can have a discussion mano y mano. Paul George has to come from a more humble perspective because he's been humbled because Kawhi is that guy. Yes, you want to be that guy, but do it in your opportunities. And I don't think Paul George has a problem with playing off of Kawhi and doing it in those opportunities because we've seen in big games versus the Lakers where he would have 30 and people are saying, oh, Paul George should even get the ball more where Kawhi has it. If you want to see he's hot and then adjust and Kawhi go through him, that's a conversation y'all can have. But it still goes through Kawhi. And then when Paul George is eating and we see that, you know what, Kawhi? Go to work, Paul George. You're going to work. This is your game. That dynamic is where they need to adjust that. But again, the main dynamic is Kawhi is the guy and Paul George eats off that. And Paul George is more of a nice catch and shoot shooter anyway. So this narrative of Paul George dribbling and has to go through with him and all that type of stuff is I get it to a certain extent, but he off the ball is better than Kawhi off the ball. Kawhi can play off the ball, but Paul George can actually catch and shoot and all that type of stuff. Paul George's skill set he's more better off the ball than Kawhi off the ball. So that's why, because of that dynamics, Paul George should play more off the ball. I don't agree with Paul George's ball handling all the time. Doesn't mean he shouldn't get it in spots to ball handle and run the pick and roll. And that's why when Kawhi goes to the bench, Paul George should be the focal point of the offense now. And he should be doing that. Not Lou Will. Lou Will goes spot up. That Montrezl Harrell shit you niggas was doing, that's when I wasn't there. Montrez come set the screen as PG and Montrez set the screen. Because we've seen Paul George do pocket passes to Zubac and all that type of stuff. Lou Will needs to be off the ball always. Only once in a blue moon. Enough is enough. That's what I'm trying to tell man. Enough is enough. This dynamics offensively, and this has been the issue that I said, that now when you face a team that is in for a rude awake, they could wake you up. The Mavs could wake you up and take you out real quick. If y'all are still doing this bullshit offensively. You need to establish Marcus Morris, play defense well on Luka. Don't worry about offense. I don't want your demeanor changing because I'm not getting the ball. And like these are the little things that the stat sheet doesn't show. If you watch the body language, you will see. I'm telling y'all, if you were to sit down with these guys, I don't need to be in the locker room. I could see when especially playing, you could see when what's going on and what's happening. That's why I have the eye to see that. It's so obvious of what's going on. It's so obvious what's going on. You get what I'm saying? So when I look at it from that perspective, again, like what I was saying, Kawhi, PG. I don't think PG was mad about what was going on because you've seen games where they're doubling Kawhi or like versus the Lakers. Paul George is having big games, especially when he had his shoulders fixed. He's had big games versus the Lakers 2 times this season. This season. He's had big games versus some of these guys. He's had big games earlier versus the Mavs when they started the bubble. He's had big games playing off the ball. The issue now is that there's too much, and I know obviously he should show his shots regardless because there's some open shots he should have. But I know the frustrations and what's going on, especially now when you're when you're always having foul trouble, which is one of the main things that they're even that I'm not even talking about. The foul trouble is too much. Man, they're using their hand to reach. They're not just sliding their feet and playing discipline, aggressive defense. There's a difference between aggression, great aggression, and bad aggression. That doodle aggression where you're doing undisciplined, reaches and all that stuff, being aggressive and having fouls, too many fouls. Which is now Paul George has to get out of the rotation and the rhythm and stuff. When Kawhi will play by himself. Now, now when they'll have Paul George in, they can't have him. Now they have just Lou Will and whatever. Like, it's just different dynamics and little things like that. The fouls is sussing. They're always in foul trouble. Now they can't even play aggressive defense in the clutch. The mans are just blowing by you and you have to leave them to blow by you because I'm about to get my 6th or I'm about to get my 5th. Those little things, that's one of the main reasons also too is the foul. And I've been cheesed. Be disciplined. Why are you reaching? Just cut off. Force a bad contested shot. You don't have to reach and get a steal every time. That's disciplined defense is the most elite defense. Disciplined, great cutoff, disciplined defense. No fouls. Now when you look at it, when I'm talking about Paul George and Kawhi, like that rhythm that I'm talking about, that, bruh, I'm telling y'all something. If they're not doing and they're not adjusting where, Kawhi and Paul George, come to a team meeting, both of you. We are that guys. Y'all both blast the whole team, even the coaching staff, everybody. Enough is enough. The ball goes through us. We're both taking 20 shots, 20 plus. Y'all take it when you get it. If you get it and you haven't had it for 5 minutes and you get it and there's one more pass to the corner, you better make that pass on time. Y'all are role players now. Enough is enough. Enough is actually enough. Both of them. They can have their own separate conversation of how they're going to work because you know how clearly they're closer. They're from the same area. They're amped that they're with the Clippers, all this type of stuff. But both of them love Kobe's. Both of them, like, they have the alpha in them. But Paul George knows what's at stake. And he knows, I've seen Kawhi. He's that guy. That's the thing. When you've already done, especially just the fresh off that season and we've seen you do it as a vocal point, I'm not going to argue with that. And Paul George, I know he's not going to argue with that. And Paul George is okay playing off the ball with him. Because he knows when he's out, now I'm going to ball handle. The only issue you could argue, like I said with Kawhi, is now when I'm hot, and let's say Kawhi, you're running the ball sometimes down the stretch, you see Kawhi struggling to do the force pick up, all that bullshit. Kawhi now, you know what time it is. I'm here. That's a different conversation. That's not a bad conversation. That's an okay conversation. I know you're you. I know you're you. But when it comes down to it, down the stretch, if you're struggling and you're not, you know what I mean? Throw it over to me and you go play off the ball. And their Kawhi would already say, I got you. You already know that's not you're even paying homage to the guy and you're just saying, if it comes through that, now shift it over to me. That's not a bad conversation. That's not stepping on toes. That's nothing. They're just letting the guy know, regardless, we can't lose when you're just throwing through you when you're frustrated and you're struggling. Swing it. That's it. Run it through me now. You know what I'm saying? And I'll even give you open more cuts or off the ball, whatever the case is. That's a great conversation those 2-on-1s can have. And you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, both of you together need to come to this team. And you came to this team and you guys are in the contender for a championship because of these 2 niggas. I'm tired of seeing Lou Will come up the court and jack up shots when Paul George is right there. It's my time to have rhythm. Move. Go to the court. Like, y'all are role players now. And there's no disrespect to the players because I'm not mad that they do it. Because again, if I'm in their shoes, I'm doing the same shit. Until you humble me. I have to get humbled for me to go to the corner and be relaxed. Still be aggressive when I get it. But humble that, you know what? You're right. You guys are that guy. I haven't won nowhere. I haven't been sniffing to a ring ever until you guys came. You know what? My fault. These guys aren't especially Lou Will and Trez and those guys. And they're looking at it as we were established before you guys came here. You came here and we've been here. What are you talking about? We average 18 both off the bench. I do this. Don't question me. I close. Don't question me. And I rate Lou Will for that. But he has to be humbled. There's levels to this. And that's what I'm waiting for. There needs to be a conversation where both of these guys body the whole team. Once they do that and mans know what time it is, I promise you, the way they look on offense, the way they look on defense will be completely different. And that's part of the reasons why I rate Patrick Bev so much, because he knows who he is. When Patrick Bev is in, that also, he's one of the guys that when he gets it, Kawhi come. I'm gonna lock up. Kawhi come. Once in a blue moon, he shoot a shot. Even then, it's rare. It's only because the offense is bad. 7 seconds left on the clock, so he has to. Most of the times, he'll lock up. He'll get the steal. Where are you, Kawhi? Where are you, Paul George? Here you go. I'm going to the corner. That's the one guy that knows I'm playing elite defense regardless if I get the ball or not. This is what I do. And that kind of sometimes, it's an unwritten type of thing. They kind of, when you see stuff like that, the demeanor of the rest of the team goes, you know what? This guy's locking up on D. Hey, they get Ant-Man. They lock up on D too, which is why he's one of the most crucial players on that team. Which is why he's even known. People look at it like he could be the leader. He has that Draymond to him. You get what I'm saying? The vocal guy. That's what they are. Their impact is so heavy that will not come up on the stat sheet at all. And that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's similar when I talk about Lowry, and I talk about, Lowry has that type of impact as well too, where he's playing that defense and all that type of stuff. But I'm still not going to rate Lowry ever in those conversations. Just like I never put Pat Bev in those conversations. Obviously, Lowry's better than Pat Bev, but I'm talking about when you're comparing the Lowrys to the Westbrooks or whatever, because of, yes, you do those intangible things, but you're still not higher than those guys because you don't have a raw skill set to go to. But anyway, it's not about him. You know what I'm saying? The point is, everyone needs to move like Pat Bev. When I get it, I get it. I'll be aggressive and I'll play more like a role player and be nice in my role. I'm not trying to carry. I'm not trying to close. I'm not trying to do all those things. But if I get it, best believe I'm here and I'm going to make the shot. Focus on that. Play like a role player. This is the issue that I've been said from time. And it's never going to change. And they're in, obviously it's only 1-1. I still have Clippers winning the series. But again, I don't look at just what's happening. When I see red flags, I call the red flags out, because if the red flag is that real, it could actually deter you and prevent you from winning your ultimate goal. That's the type of red flag I see. So I call it out early so mans know what it is and they can see it can fix it. So when it happens, or they do sus, or they don't get to the ring, don't be like, oh my God, what happened? No, I called it out from time that if this happens, this is a potential. This is so real of a red flag. Sometimes a red flag is just in a game red flag, or in a game, it's just you move Fugazi that game. Those in the game red flags are not, I know when it's time, it's not going to be like that. But this is a act structure. This is a structure red flag. This is a structure red flag. And you're facing a team that if you have a red flag, they smell blood. It's like sharks. They smell blood. I'm going to kill you. My goodness. And that's the difference with the Mavs. Look at the Mavs. They know the hierarchy is Luka, Porzingis, everybody else. You could see it. Even Tim Hardaway, who knows I'm that guy and I could score. He only does it when Luka's on the bench. Then he goes, you know what? Let's go. I'm here. Mans know I'm a spotter. Mans know what the hierarcy is. And they're amped to kill in their role. That's why they're going to play defense. They're not like, oh, if I'm not getting shots, my defense is kind of just, you can see it. I can see, bro, I be seeing lazy Fugazi defense. I'm like, what? And you see Doc is hella cheesed. That's the difference between when Mo Harkless wasn't there. That's why I said they're going to miss that factor. It's not just the individual skill that he presents. It's the actual, with that team, the way he's there and what he's like. When you have a certain team, certain guys are better fit on certain teams. Doesn't mean they're better individually. Just for that team, he now creates and makes the hierarchy more established, because he's not ever going to contend with these guys on the hierarchy. So when you have a more role who's better off defensively, he's weaker offensively individually, but he's so elite defensively that he just meshes better with these guys because he's not going to step on their toes. As opposed to when you have Morris, who's okay defensively, but way better offensively, but he's going to step on their toes because you don't need him OD for offense, because they were winning already when they had Mo Harkless, because they have two elite guys offensively. Stuff like that, man. Bro, they need to change that shit. Like I'm telling you, there is in for, like, especially with a neutral ground. The road teams aren't just the road teams no more, man. They're not just the weaker teams no more, because there's no advantage you have. Man's palms are sweaty because I'm in your building, and just the crowd's going and being the sixth man and scaring niggas. There's none of that shit no more. So we're playing at our A game every game. That's why you could count, okay, the Clippers were going to win 2 games at home. The Mavs will win 2 games at home, and Clippers might still win on the road because they have the mentality where the crowd's not going to affect them. They have actual superstars. That's why you could you could actually pick what games teams are going to win in regular setting, because you know the crowd affects. The crowd is such a huge effect. Man's palms are going to be sweaty, especially role players. They're going to be shooting bricks at home, on the road. At home, they're snapping. There's certain effects that they have just by being, just the crowd being there. And that's an advantage that you're just going to have. That's why it's hard. Oh my goodness, this team's going to win a game 7 on the road. Nah. Or this team's, you know what I mean? It's harder, and not, oh, we have to win this game, or if we go in their home, we know we're going to lose. There's a pressure on it. Like, there's so many of those little things that are big things in this actual series or regular situation. Now you remove that shit. You know, oh, game 3, we're on the road. You're going to get B game from these guys. Game 4, they're on the road. You're going to get B game from that's gone. It's A game every time now. So an upset can happen. This is the situation. An upset can happen in any series this year. So when you're playing with that type of fire, these red flags are even bigger red flags, or they're bigger red flags that you have to address earlier than you would have had to in a different situation. Because these red flags wouldn't, let's say, come up till conference finals or whatever. Now it's different. It's different. Anybody could win. So these red flags are red flags from just one game, yo. Which is why you seen the Lakers snap last game, because they're like, yo, we can't play like this. We need to come out. We're being aggressive. They'll trap Lillard from full court. Do all these things that we need to do. You get what I'm saying? Because you already know. And that's the difference with the Lakers, which I said the Lakers in that sense is better than the Clippers because they have a hierarchy established. Man knows LeBron AD. Everybody else. They even had to humble Kuz. And now reeling back out of it. Kuz, we need you. You know what I'm saying? On the flip side, they're not doing that. So again, anyways, I didn't do a breakdown, but this is when I just had to talk to y'all, and we had to get active. We had to get active because enough is enough with these Clippers, man. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. That's when they came out 18-2. Pat Bev was on the court with that aggression, that energy, that game 1 with that energy. You seen how he was moving. And then the whole team was just moving like it was just pads. And Luka looked like his palms were sweaty. And then what did he do? No, I'm not going out like that. And he turned into a Don. And then the Clippers started, oh, relax, the days are cold. You know, we could just turn on anytime. And then you know what happened. They can't play like this. They better, game 3. I'm telling you, you keep giving dogs more confidence on the Mavs side. A team that has a perfect hierarchy established. They win the next game. It's 2-1. There's no home court advantage. There's no guaranteed game you're getting. Every game is basically a game 7 in this setting. I'm telling y'all something, man. Anyways, True Talks, because True Talks, share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? Bruh. Game 3 is today. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it looks, man. Anyways, I'm out, man.